Welcome to the first ever Monster Brawl. 32 monsters enter, 1 leaves. And today we're checking out Division 1 as 8 monsters will go head to head bracket style where you picked the winners. And I'm your host, Josh Spiegel, and I am joined today by my co-host, Manic Mike Mangles. How are you today, Mike?
Ooh, I am ready to see some battling beasties, some sparring species, some wrestling raptors. I want to see creatures going toe to toe, to claw, to fang, and blood. I want to see lots and lots of blood.
Loving the enthusiasm there, Mike. So let's get down to it. In round 1, we're looking at Ursus mutatus from the movie Annihilation. And I don't know about you, Manic Mike, but I only want to look at it for a very, very small amount of time. I've seen my share of average bears, and this one is definitely a bit larger than those, and it's definitely meaner, and it does possess some rudimentary mimicry skills, but it doesn't appear to be able to see that terribly well, which could be a detriment in a fight like this.
You know, Josh, not seeing ain't gonna help you when you're up against the arachnid, which looks like some kind of sort of organic Swiss Army knife to me. It's got these things here, I'm gonna call them pinchers, and they'll spike you quick. And then it's got this thing. What's this thing called?
I'm going to go with mouth.
It's mouth, yeah! That thing looks crazy, and I've seen it cut people in half, and I'm gonna bet that it does the same to bears.
Well, I think a lot of people agree with you, since the arachnid wins with 79% of the vote versus 21%.
Looks like this is barely a fight.
Round 2 gives us a real powerhouse with the undisputed king of vengeance, the Pumpkinhead.
His head don't even look like no pumpkin.
I have seen my share of pumpkins in my life, and I'm pretty sure that if I have found one that looked like this, I would call for an exorcism on the whole patch.
May the power of pumpkin spice compel you.
Pumpy has a distinct advantage here. He is very tall and has a massive reach, capped off with some sharp claws, not to mention his strength and seemingly human-level intelligence. Plus, let's not skip over the fact that he's basically invulnerable, and the only way to destroy him is to kill the person who summoned him.
Well, he better summon up some scuba gear because his opponent is the Merman from Cabin in the Woods. And you know what, Josh?
What's that?
Everything's cooler with the Merman.
No doubt, they are terrifying, and I hear that the cleanup on them is indeed a nightmare.
What else is a nightmare? That mouth of his, filled with lots of sharp teeth, all the better to bite you with and spew your blood out of its blowhole. But with that big fishtail and no legs, he's at a bit of a disadvantage.
Indeed, so in the quest to make this a fair fight, we've actually placed both opponents in the water, which you would think would actually put Mr. Head at a disadvantage. But it does not, since he's able to win this whole thing pretty easily with 82% of the vote versus the Merman's 18%.
These have been some blowouts so far. Let's get that cream to rise to the top.
Well, this one's pretty creamy since we've got Kuthoga from The Relic, who was a human being at one point, transformed by a soup.
A soup?
Presumably a chowder.
Well, that don't sound too tough to me.
He is tough, with a scaly hide, massive tusks, and big old claws to scratch you with. Kuthoga still maintains a human-level intelligence and can actually scale walls if need to be, but has an apparent vulnerability to being burnt up.
He's facing down the Bio Raptor from Pitch Black, and wait a minute, aren't these things like little gizmos in light?
Yes, they are extremely photosensitive, so in order to make this a fair fight, we've lit the arena with a special UV filtered light that does not hurt the raptor and yet makes it possible for Kuthoga to see.
Okay, that fairs it up a bit, but I should point out that although the Bio Raptor has some handy wings and this tail thing that can use as a spear, and even though it's blind, It is extremely sensitive to sound.
It seems like the ability to fly gives it a bit of the edge that it needs, and thankfully Kuthoga doesn't know the meaning of the word stealth.
I should point out that neither do I, but I'm gonna look it up right after this is over.
Flying in that spear tail gives the Raptor the edge to take the day with 63% of the vote versus Kuthoga's 37%. Okay, here we go with the final matchup of the division, and it's a pretty peculiar one. On one side, we have the Homo aquaticus from Leviathan, which is sort of an underwater version of the Thing in a way.
Just not as cool.
Just not as cool. But he does have a pretty solid array of offensive weaponry with that mouthful of fishhook teeth, and it's pretty fast moving. It also has the ability to absorb its opponents, taking on the traits of their DNA and adding their body mass to its own, kind of like the Thing.
Just not as cool.
Just not as cool. Also not as important to the plot of the film. But it is in the same spirit.
Well, his rival has spirit, Christmas spirit, and if you don't have it, he's coming for you, and it's the Krampus.
Isn't there actually like 100 movie Krampuses by now?
There is, but this is the real deal from the movie Krampus. He's big, spooky looking, and mysterious as we never get to see him. I don't know what he does. He sort of warps reality, and he's got a cadre of minions to call upon.
Cadre?
I had to call upon Google to look that one up myself.
Well, since this is a fair fight, there's no minions allowed, but he's still magical.
Magic versus science, this ought to be good.
This is a good fight, but it looks like, just like in real life, science always wins, as the Leviathan manages to get a grip on the Krampus and absorb him in the end. But it was as close of a call as we're gonna get this round, with the aquatic guy eking out a mere 51% of the vote against Krampus's 49%.
Now that was a close call.
Well, that wraps up Division 1. Here's how that bracket is looking so far. Tune in soon, very soon, for Division 2 and beyond as we weed out the opening group of monsters.
You've gotta subscribe! Just do it now! Body slam that button and like the videos with your puny little fingers!
Welcome back to the competition with teeth and claws and fangs and whatever else these guys have up their sleeves with the first ever Monster Brawl. Today we're checking out Division 2 of the opening level in our bracket, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chuck Whomper.
You know what, Josh? I'm so ready to see some monsters flying to and fro, knocking into each other until there's nothing left.
Well, I think that is exactly what we're looking at, as 8 monsters will face off in the arena where you guys voted for the winners.
To the death!
All right, for the first matchup in the division, our first challenger is the Brundlefly in its final form.
For the telepod fusion though, right?
Yes, post-skin molting, pre-teleport booth fusion. The big guy's big and mean, but does not have a huge range of motion. What he does have, however, are some big ol' claws for grabbing and one hell of an offensive weapon in acid vomit, which he uses to break down organic substances for ingestion.
The thought of that gives me some vomit myself, but it's more Jaeger than acid.
The Brundlefly also happens to have one big asset with his advanced intelligence, as it seems to retain the braininess of its human form without the whole conscious thing to hold it back.
Well, his opponent ain't holding back either, as he's facing down one of the adult grabbers from the movie Grabbers. And this guy has a bit of a size advantage, as he's about double that of Brundle.
I hear that size does not actually matter.
Good luck with that. The Grabber's got some fine, fast-moving tentacles, all the better for grabbing and pulling you into its big mouth full of teeth, or just straight up throwing you. But its main weakness, like me, is alcohol, like drinking alcohol, which will straight up kill it.
Well, you know what else will kill it, since it'll kill just about anything, is acid, as in acid vomit. And that's what happens here as the teetotaling octopus gets a face full of it.
Is that a face?
Close enough. The big bundle of Brundle takes the fight with 69% of the vote versus 31%. This next round seems a bit uneven.
There's no such thing as uneven in Monster World!
Well, we'll see, since our first opponent here is the Blair thing. It's big, has a big set of monster teeth, and can smash through the ground with relative ease. So, it's no slouch in the strength department. Plus, as a life form that can absorb its foes and perfectly replicate them, it can also split off into alternate forms, like a handy dog.
Don't move around much though, do it!
I think it can move perfectly fine. Look at how well it barrels through these wooden planks.
Not fast enough to dodge a single stick of dynamite though!
You do have me there.
Well, his opponent sure can move fast and has a size and stealth advantage as he's facing Elmer, the Elmer. This guy's old, like really old, and survives by eating brains. Oh, and his teeth are apparently sharp enough to chop through a human skull with one bite. Plus, he can inject you with this powerful hallucinogenic drug that gives you visions. Don't count him out because of his size.
Well, I didn't, but everyone else did, since the Blair thing easily wraps some of those big old tentacles around Elmer and completely digests him and wins the round with 81% of the vote against 19. Round 3 seems a bit more of an even match and a pretty interesting one to boot, as on this side we're looking at a pack of 5 of the aliens from Attack the Block. These things, best described as a cross between gorillas and wolves.
Did you just say woof?
Yes, like a werewolf.
Well, you better say that as wolf, or else that's all you're gonna hear about in the comments.
Well, these guys are fast and their mouths are full of glowing teeth. Plus, they hunt in a pack, so they've got a bit of an advantage with numbers. Their most notable feature is their fur, which is completely black.
That is really black. How much more black could that be?
None more black.
These guys are taking on a big one with Motor from The Ritual, and the best way to describe him is as a hell deer with a ring wraith strapped over his head.
That's actually pretty accurate.
Well, he seems to have some limited magical abilities, like the ability to grant a form of immortality, as well as creating visions within its prey.
Would that work against mindless animals?
I guess we'll find out. Motor has a group of worshippers to help him out, but they're not in this arena. But he should have an easy enough time taking out this pack of aliens. I mean, they were killed by a bunch of kids.
Those weren't kids, they were South London hoodies, and they'd take out Monster Moose too, as do the Gorilla Wolves with 61% of the vote versus 39%. The final matchup of this division has a couple of creatures out of their natural element. One is usually underwater and the other underground.
This is the one I'm really looking forward to.
In this corner, we've got the full-size version of a Graboid from the movie Tremors. Now, this guy is one of the classic ones from the first film, fully grown. These guys are known for burrowing up underneath you and bursting through the dirt to get to you. And not only that, but they have these handy tongue things, like 3 of them, to reach out and grab you.
Oh! Graboids. I get that now.
And pull you into their beak-like mouths. Now, they're blind, but extremely sensitive to sound and can hear the most gentle of steps in order to find its prey.
Well, he's fighting the creature from the movie The Host, and his name is... Now, why would you give me this to try to pronounce?
I think it's Gway Mule.
Whatever, I'm calling him the Host. He's a big fishy guy, but with legs and these big powerful jaws. He's fairly intelligent, maybe not like me intelligent, but somewhere up there. One thing though is that he's a bit of a klutz, a little awkward on his little legs.
Well, let me tell you, klutzy is not exactly the trait that you want to have when dealing with a Graboid. Klutzy means loud and gives away your location, which, combined with the reach of those tongue grabbers, is how he's able to get the edge here. And the Graboid has a sushi entree with 65% of the vote versus 35%. Well, that's it for Division 2. Here's how the bracket is looking so far. Tune in soon for Divisions 3 and 4 as we weed out the first level of this tournament.
And subscribe! Don't make me come over there! Do it now! Flex your finger muscle and bench press that button. And like the videos. And then do it 10 times for a proper rep. And don't forget to show some good form!
Get ready, because it's time once again for the first ever Monster Brawl, where the biggest and the baddest and the meanest and the maddest throw down. Today, we're going to Division 3 of the first wave of monsters to see who will win, and you guys decided on the winners with your votes. And I'm your host, Josh Spiegel, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Gregario Papoldaski. Good to see you, Gregario.
Good to be seeing you, host Josh. I am ready to watch the monsters, read the fights, and hope to be seeing much bloodshed and gore.
As do we all. As do we all. Round 1 gives us a couple of opponents from beyond the stars, and on this side, we're looking at Her Royal Majesty, the Alien Queen Xenomorph. She's not a mama today, though, and completely disconnected from her egg sac and in top fighting form. For such a large creature, she's actually very agile and has some brute strength on her side. As an added bonus, not only does she have those offensive abilities, but she has one hell of a defensive attack, as well with her acid blood.
I had a big shakshuka for breakfast and I am knowing how she feels.
Also, let's not forget that the queen not only has a mouth with teeth, but her mouth has a mouth. And as alluring as that might sound, it's not.
On the other side of the arena is her rival, the Deadly Spawn, who is being from the movie Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn. This monster would be very difficult to beat because it's all mouth. I mean, more than one of them in fact. And those mouths have so many teeth that nearby dentists are to be getting erections.
Now, this monster also has little babies, much like the Xenomorph, correct?
This is correct, but no babies today, only the mommies.
Well, this battle shows that just like chess, the queen is the most valuable piece, as she easily defeats the Spawn, taking a full 91% of the vote versus the Spawn's measly 9%. The most lopsided win in the whole tournament so far. That last round had a queen, but this one has a king as we move on to an unusual combat.
Everyone be ready to have all your picnics be ruined.
That's right, because our first fighter is a giant ant from the movie Them. Them with a big exclamation point at the end of it. They could have had it with a question mark at the ending, and maybe they could have called it Them?
You have to say it like them! Like that.
Yep, and as a giant ant, it has monstrous mandibles on the front of its face, custom made for crushing, and its sheer size makes it quite the formidable foe.
But he's up against the king. King Rawhead, or Rawhead Rex, who's massive bestial giant with massive teeth and claws and kinda looks like a member of the band Guar. He's quite the hungry boy, capable of eating 20 musakas, and has a particular weakness when it comes to pregnant women. So not very different than Gregario, because Gregario likes what he likes, okay?
Well, this was a pretty even match, even giving the size discrepancy, as Rawhead's brute strength and durability helps him weather the storm for quite a while, but eventually we find out that one of his other weaknesses is being chopped in half by giant mandibles. And the giant ant takes it with 56% of the vote versus the king's 44%. Hold on to your funny bone, because this next round is about to turn silly.
That's strange, because this show has been so serious so far.
Not anymore, since this round features 3 of the killer clowns from the cult film Killer Clowns from Outer Space. In the interest of fair fights, we've taken away their cotton candy guns and distance weapons. But let's not forget that they have their own close-range arsenals, like acid pies, knockout fists, and the sketchily defined ability to create giant shadow puppet monsters.
Why are there 3 of them? Why'd they get 3?
We only meant to bring 1, but they just kept coming out of the car.
Well, they're going to be needing all of the help that they can get, since they're fighting one of the Death Angels from the Quiet Place.
That's what those things are called?
Looks alike, and these guys are really fast, like lightning fast, and have these claws at the ending of their arm thingies that they can tear through the metal. And I'm assuming clown cars, that they may be blind, but they're extremely sensitive to sound. And you know what, Mr. Josh? The squeaking clown shoes are not so quiet. Did I mention their faces? Their faces open up like a little flower, exposing those spooky teeth underneath.
Does a flower face offer any offensive advantages?
No, but it gives Gregario the spookies.
Well, looks like clowns don't get the spookies since their goofy gadgets give them the upper hand. And they win the day with 72% of the vote versus 28%. Our next matchup features another one of the big guns, and I do mean that literally. But first in this corner, we're looking at one of the cave dwellers from the movie The Cave. These big guys used to be human, mutated by some sort of parasite into this bat-like thing that you see here. And speaking of seeing, well, they don't really do that, but instead use an echolocation system.
Gregario actually uses that at home. He just does this. Hey, Manu!
What?
He's by the vending machine. See? Echolocation.
Exactly. These guys can also fly, which is a distinct advantage. Plus, they maintain a modicum of human intelligence and can set traps. They are, however, pretty sensitive to bright lights and sounds.
Bright sounds?
No, bright lights and sounds. Like sounds is separate.
Well, none of that will match the Predator. As you say, he a big gun.
Yes, but in the interest of keeping this a fair fight, he is not allowed to use that gun. No laser cannons allowed. He is able to retain all of his close combat edged weaponry though.
Bah, the Predator needs no fancy laser thingy to win the big fight. He has Wolverine claws to cut through wings and the fighting ability unmatched by anything that not the name Schwarzenegger.
Or Glover, apparently.
Is different Predator entirely. This guy is from first movie and is capable of defeating Action Jackson, Captain Freedom, and vague Native American stereotype.
Well, we know all about those vague stereotypes here, and it looks like canon or no canon, this is as simple of a fight as it gets as the Predator easily slices that sucker open like a goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus, taking 95% of the vote versus the Cave Dwellers' 5%. This becoming the most lopsided battle of the entire match so far. So that's Division 3, and there were some hard-fought battles in there, so let's take a look at that bracket. Tune in soon for the next division and some more full-throttle monster battles.
Full frontal?
Throttle.
That makes more sense. So, please, be hitting those buttons. So many buttons. Like buttons, subscribe buttons, bell buttons, sharing buttons, little letter buttons for making the comments. So much hitting. The Gregario likes it. I hit my like button of you hitting your like button. So everyone wins. Do it.
Welcome back to the Brawl to end it all, where it is monsters. We've randomly matched up 32 monsters, and you voted on the winners. And today, we're checking out 8 contestants for Division 4 in order to move on to the next round. I'm your host, Josh Spiegel, and today I'm joined by the mysterious El Luchabuchi.
Oh, you know, I am so very excited to be here. It's so good. I love monsters. I love fighting. So seeing some monsters fighting is exactly geared to tickle my pickle.
Indeed, so let's get to tickling. Our first matchup is between a couple of guys straight from the stars, and in this corner a fungus is among us as we're dealing with the parasitic alien from the movie Splinter. Now, conceptually, this thing is more of a disease than a central entity, so we're looking at the final form of it as the splintery, spiky things completely take over a human being and turn him into a deadly Picasso. Now, here's what this thing does. It's covered with these little spikes, which it kind of stabs into you, and they kill you and make you into one of them.
That Splinty thing is facing the hungry beast from the movie terror vision. And let me tell you, he looks stupid. And I know all about things that look stupid. But don't let his goofy appearance drop your guard, because he's a formidable. He's a tough foe.
He does look a little stupid.
He is a dum-dum, but pretty tough. He kills people and can imitate their forms, including their voices, has some limited teleportation abilities, and this ability to create a sort of a tornado vortex thing that sucks you in harder than the first season of Golden Girls, and he has this extra eyeball to be able to spot you better.
Well, I would have thought that this would be a closer fight, but it looks like this Splinter creature is able to use its infectiousness to its advantage, penetrating the hungry beast's hide and taking him over from the inside, winning the battle with 74% of the vote against the hungry beast's 26%. This next battle worked out well, because keep in mind that these matchups were randomly drawn, but I can't think of a better combination than Torok versus Belial.
It's short and stubby versus gnarled and nubby.
So on one side we have Torok from the movie Troll.
Not a goblin?
No, he is assuredly not a goblin, but he does have some intense magical abilities, including some reality warping skills and a handy weapon in this needle ring, which, when jabbed into you, turns you into a fantasy hallucination.
I myself have been jabbed with needles like that.
This isn't that kind of jab.
Speaking of jabs, Belial from the Basket Case movies has a mean one. This little guy may have no legs, but he makes up for it with some unusual maneuvering, not to mention some strong offensive capabilities with the use of those claws of his, which seem capable of tearing people apart with one swipe.
Just to be clear, Belial does not have access to the power loader in this matchup.
I'm pretty sure he's not gonna need it.
I'm pretty sure that you're right, since, as we've seen in the films, Belial can actually handle himself in a fight against some pretty formidable opponents, whereas Torok relies on deception and uses others to fight his battles for him. And when it comes down to one-on-one, Belial takes the day with 70% versus 30%. You know, most of our battles have been between bad mother...
Don't you say that.
But this one is between a pair of literal mothers.
I haven't called my mother in 13 years, and it breaks my heart every day.
Okay, in this corner over here, we have the Queen Alien from the movie The Faculty. This lethal lady is pretty big, with more tentacles than you can shake a Euro Tsukidoji at, and can move effortlessly both out of water and in. She has a bunch of human minions as well, although no access to them in this fair one-on-one fight, and her weaknesses include being dried out with no water and being injected with drugs.
El Lucha can relate.
That is your second drug joke this episode? Are you okay?
Her opponent is the final form of zombie Vera from Dead Alive, or Brain Dead depending upon your country, and she is big and naked. Her massive strength allows her to smash through walls and tear jerky relatives' heads off, and she demands a well-maintained frontage.
So even though Vera has a distinct size ability, the Queen has the speed, and our big zombie's limited ability is her downfall. And the Queen takes her out in what is most likely some spotty morphing effects, with 76% of the vote versus 24%.
Mama, I miss you.
The final face-off of this division kicks it old school and super cool, as our first brawler is the Metaluna mutant from the classic film This Island Earth. Probably one of the most recognizable monsters of all time. This guy is tall and has a thick exoskeleton like an insect. His main weapon for offense are his lobster-like claws that are his entire hands, like how does he hold a fork, and his great strength.
You're not going to mention the giant exposed brain?
No need!
He has massive exposed brain right there, out in the open.
And?
Well, he's facing one of the Judas breed from the movie Mimic, and the guy does not have a big vulnerable brain just sitting on the top of his head, but he is essentially a giant cockroach with pinchers and mandibles. I mean, these guys have a limited ability to fly, they can cloak themselves and, you know, they could have a human disguise.
Which really won't help in an arena, I should add.
No, it will not. But you know, since they're insects, they also have a insect exoskeleton. Very tough to pierce. And again, no exposed brain.
It looks like, just like in real life, cockroaches prove to be incredibly hard to kill, as the Judas breed wins this one with 77% of the vote versus the mutants' 23%.
Out of curiosity, how did it win the fight?
Oh, it stabbed him in the big brain. So that wraps up Division 4, closing out this round and eliminating our first wave of combatants. Let's take a look at that bracket. We'll be back very soon with the next round to see who advances to take the Monster Brawl crown or trophy or whatever, because I don't think we can have a crown. There's too much head size variation here.
Now's your chance out there, though. Subscribe right here to make sure that you don't miss anything. And punch the like button and smack around a few of those letter keys until they look like something resembling a comment. And please, call your mom.
Welcome back to the Monster Brawl, and here we go into the second round of the competition as we look at Divisions 1 and 2, checking out the matches between 8 horrible monsters from the silver screen with the results decided on by you guys. I'm your host, Josh Spiegel, and I'm joined once again by my good compadre, Manic Mike Mangle.
Hold on 1 minute. How do you spell that word that you just said?
C-O-M-P-A-D-R-E. Compadre.
Okay. Let's see. Oh! Compadre. Yeah, compadre, that's me, yeah! Alright, I'm your compadre, yeah, and I'm ready to see some savage slams!
Alright, here we go! In this corner here, we've got the pride of Planet P with the Arachnid Warrior Bug. These things are so tough that even if they lose an entire limb, they're still 86% combat effective.
Wait a goddamn minute here! You're talking about limbs, and I do not know all of the words, but I do know arachnid, and those things have 8 legs, and I also know that I don't know all the numbers, but I can count to 8, and these guys ain't have that!
You're right, the bugs aren't technically arachnids, but just referred to that since they resemble Earth spiders. If it makes you feel better, call them warrior bugs.
Only thing I'm gonna call them is second best, since this little buggy is up against the Pumpkinhead, Demon of Vengeance! And in case you missed it, he's not only big and bad and mean and mad, but he's damn near invulnerable.
You know, everyone says that, but have we really seen that be tested?
He got shot!
Yes, but has it been chopped in half by giant mandibles? In Pumpkinhead 2, he seems to get killed when he's shot up a bunch.
You're gonna come on up over here talking about Pumpkinhead 2? Even Bishop looked at that one and said, no thank you. The guy who did Hellraiser 8 wanted nothing to do with it. You take your Pumpkinhead 2 and you take a hike!
Well, apparently that untested invulnerability is enough to win the day, since magical abilities add to the fight, giving Pumpy the edge, and he wins with 63% versus 37%. Our next matchup gives us a little Air Force versus Navy action as we look at one opponent who's more comfortable in the sky versus one who's at home in the sea.
Yeah, but for fairness sake, they both also seem to be okay on dry land.
You are correct, and for that aerial action, we're looking at the Bio Raptor from the film Pitch Black. And again, in the interest of a fair fight, this arena will be lit with a filtering light that doesn't affect it. And with that handicap, the Raptor should be an unbeatable opponent with the ability to fly and stay out of reach of short-range attacks and a spiked tail for grabbing and spearing.
Flying ain't no big advantage. Anyone can fly.
No, they can't?
Not with that attitude. An attitude is something that the Leviathan has in spades, otherwise known as Homo aquaticus, which sounds like an underwater club that I used to go to. This guy is the result of drinking some tainted vodka, turning regular folks into raging, destructive creatures, which, come to think of it, is basically just regular vodka. And what is it with stuff I love turning people into monsters? Didn't we have a soup monster in the last round?
We did.
What's in round 3? Some dude eats some hummus and mutates?
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, it looks like the Bio Raptor's maneuverability gives it the edge, and it's able to keep its distance and strike with that tail of his until victory is achieved with a 64% versus 36% lead. Moving on to our next set of foes, we've got an interesting round here as we're seeing a face-off of two great remakes.
Everything's a remake nowadays, except us. We are the true originals.
Indeed, but when it comes to remakes, few are better and classier than David Cronenberg's take on The Fly. And although he's had a few forms in the movie, we're dealing with the final form of the Brundlefly here. He's shed his skin and ready to fight.
Yeah, but come on, no remake is gonna outdo John Carpenter's version of The Thing. It's a great remake and a great movie on its own.
Well, I mean, so is The Fly.
Yeah, but The Thing!
Yeah, but The Fly.
Well, in terms of fighting here, we're looking at another final form when the shape-shifting creature mutates to form a diabetes guy into something that I'm assuming does not have diabetes.
That's the actor and not the character.
Who can tell the difference anymore?
Well, if you ask me, this whole fight comes down to one question, and that's how well the Thing can handle acid, seeing as how he seems susceptible to fire and things that break its form down, which one would assume that acid would, but it would appear as if it can indeed handle it, as the unfair Blair wins the day with 65% versus 35%.
I told you, but The Thing.
The final showdown in this round is another unusual matchup, as we've got big versus small, furry versus scaly, although coincidentally two monsters who are both blind, so it's a good thing that our deathmatch arena is ADA compliant. So on this side of things, we've got some extra numbers, as it's a pack of 5 of the aliens from the film Attack the Block. They're pitch black and mean and hunt based on sound.
And on this side of things, we got a full-size Graboid! Origins unknown. Are they from space? Dinosaurs? Some sort of experiment? Who knows? But they are also very mean and hunt based on sound. And I just thought of something.
What's that?
Graboid's whole thing is digging up underground real fast and coming up from under you. How are we making that fair for the block attackers?
Glad you asked that, Manic Mike, and the answer is that we've packed the arena with alluvial soil, which is very easy for the Graboid to propel itself through, but only made it about 3 feet deep, so it can't fully go underground. This might take away its main advantage, but it can still use the ground to move quickly and still has those massive jaws and grabby tongues.
Hope those creatures of yours can jump off the ground real good.
Well, looks like they can't, since this one went pretty soundly to the Graboid, who won this fight with a massive 80% to 20 difference. All right, that closes out this round, so let's see this bracket. Our winners will advance to the next level, but we'll be back soon with the other side of this bracket to see who gets to move to the quarterfinals.
That's right! So you out there, you subscribe if you know what's good for you, because what's good for you is watching monsters fight each other, and tell us who your favorites are. And don't forget to put this up on your MySpace page or Meow Meow Beads or whatever. I might not be in the next episode because I'm gonna be unavailable for about the next 30 days.
Rehab?
No! Why would you say that? It's pretty hurtful. Ooh.
All right, welcome back to the universe's biggest fight in the world with the second round of Monster Brawl. Our 8 combatants today advance from the first round to face off again on their quest to win all the marbles. And I mean that figuratively, because what would monsters even do with marbles anyway? I'm your host, Josh Spiegel, and I'm joined once again by the legendary Chuck Whopper.
It's good to be back.
Back, Chuck, you haven't left. You've been camping out in the corner back there since the last episode. This first fight is pretty appropriate since it's the Battle of the Bugs with 2 drastically different origins. One's from the far reaches of space and the other from the not so far reaches of your backyard. And one of them is the Xenomorph Queen.
What's a xenomorph?
An alien from the movie Alien.
Yeah, but what does it mean?
Well, it roughly translates into xeno for strange and morph for form, so strange form.
So my ex-wife was a xenomorph, technically.
Technically, and the Queen is a heavy hitter capable of going toe-to-toe with a person in a full-body robot suit like in Starship Troopers.
What?
The novel.
Well, a giant freaking ant isn't a power suit, it's a giant freaking ant, and you know how strong that ants are. You ever see one of them some bitches carry something 5 times their size? Well, 5 times this guy's size is a goddamn skyscraper. I reckon he'll have enough power behind them massive jaws to cut mama down to size. I think this is gonna be a close call.
Well, thinking is not your strong suit since this one was nowhere near close, with the Xeno Queeno taking a massive 95% of the vote against the ant's mere 5.
That ain't no reason to be insulting.
Stepping up to the plate right now is another big round featuring another of the heavy hitters versus a couple of clowns, and I'm talking literally.
Wait a minute, there's clowns here? Like not in the room, right?
Chuck, do you suffer from coulrophobia?
Hell no! The Whopper believes that love is love.
No, it's coulrophobia. It's a fear of clowns.
Wait, there's clowns here?
There is 3 of them, and they're killer clowns, and let me tell you, you will be dead on arrival from the likes of them. They're quick, deadly, have vague reality warping abilities.
Hold up! Why am I scared of these things? Aren't there weak parts like their nose? Like right out there in the open?
Well, yes, but they still have a wide array of offensive options.
Yeah, but like right there though.
Did I mention the boxing glove?
Let's see how that fares against the most fearsome hunter in the universe, the goddamn Predator. Its name is what it is. He does flips and stuff and kills and skins his opponents for fun. I imagine have a bunch of skin clowns would be kind of weird though. Come to think of it, I might have a phobia of skin clowns. But the Predator has some nasty weapons at his disposal, and I bet like literally any of them would be able to take down a damn target that's literally right on the front of their faces.
Don't underestimate the clowns, because even without their cotton candy guns, they're fierce fighters. And keep in mind, the Predator does not have his laser cannon.
He don't need that. He just has to hit a big red round target. Come on, why are we even still talking about this?
I don't really know, since it's obvious that the Rawhead Raptor has the skills to hit those targets, since he claims victory with 76% of the vote versus 24. Moving on to round 3 here, it's another kind of weird one, since it's monsters that are both kind of abstract.
Well, you know what they say, abstraction allows man to see with his mind what he physically cannot see with his eyes. Abstract art enables the artist to perceive beyond the tangible, to extract the infinite out of the finite. It's the emancipation of the mind. It is an explosion into unknown areas.
They do say that somewhere. But right here, we're saying that our first fighter is the extremely contagious Splinter creature. It's less cohesive of a monster and more of a disease-given form, but it's pretty tough in its form here, and although it seems to have the basic strength of a normal human being, its biggest weapons are its splinters, as even one of them can take over its opponent's form.
When it comes to form, nothing is as weird as Belial. He looks like a little zit with arms if a zit could tear you into pieces. One of his main strengths here will be his speed. The little dude's pretty damn fast, and I'm pretty sure that he can avoid that thing's splinters.
You're sure?
Damn sure.
Looks like he's not, since the Splinter creature manages to get a piece of him, taking care of the half-man with a 70% lead over Belial's 30%. Heading into the final fight of this round,
Thank goodness. I gotta wrap this up because I got a meeting in like an hour.
AA.
What? No, with my agent. That is a really crappy assumption. You know, Manic Mike told me about you.
Well, let me tell you about our second alien queen of this lineup. Although this one isn't taking on colonial marines, she's fighting teenage reprobates and drug dealers. And although she seems more at home in the water, she's equally as deadly on land.
Oh no, look, yeah, this is a monster with the power of Jonathan Stewart on its side. How physically intimidating.
Mentally, though.
Well, yeah, I don't want to piss that guy off with words.
Plus, don't forget that she's got a Terminator on her side.
She's gonna need him since her foe is a big-ass bug, one of the Judas priests. I mean, breed from Mimic, and this thing is a people-sized cockroach. Also like my ex-wife, and you know what they say about the nuclear apocalypse?
What do they say?
They say that nothing will be left but cockroaches, and you know, I don't see them mentioning nothing about no alien thing.
Probably because everyone else will be dead. Because in this fight, the queen reigns supreme, using those big tentacle things to her advantage and crushing herself a bug, with a commanding 82% win over the breed's 18%. And you know, that is the second win in this round for an alien queen. Okay, that's it for round 2. Lots of strong contenders in this lineup left. Let's see that bracket. Tune in soon for the quarterfinals as we get closer and closer to that big win to see who goes home with the glory. And you know, hey, this is a fight to the death, so the winner gets to go home.
You know what to do. Why you gotta make me say it every time? Like, subscribe, bell, comment, share. Don't be no lazy.
Hey, speaking of going home.
Don't pressure me.
Welcome to the quarterfinals of the very first ever Monster Brawl. We started with 32 monsters, put them in a randomized bracket, and we're now down to just 8. The winners of the fights were decided by you guys, and we're about to find out who goes on to the finals in this creepy, crawly carnage. I am your host, Josh Spiegel, and I'm joined once again by the always welcome Gregario Papuldowski.
It is being so good to be being back, host Josh, and it is so good to know that Gregario can be seen and appreciated by his people back home.
Where is that again exactly? Where are you from?
Oh, you know, a vague land from somewhere over the sea.
Which sea?
Josh, you joke. There is only one sea. It's all connected, it's unified and beautiful. Only the land is divided.
Yes, but where? Our first round here is pretty spectacular as we're looking at one of the most durable opponents in this. It's Pumpkinhead.
They say he is being the spirit of the vengeance, but where his motorcycle?
Is that a comic book joke? Like Ghost Rider? Gregario, no one is going to get that reference.
It is fine. There is being like 3 people that watch this show anyway.
Well, Pumpernickel has been really killing it so far in this tournament, mostly due to his supernatural elements and the fact that in order to actually damage him, you would have to kill the person who called him up.
So who do that?
What?
Call him up. Why, did someone call him up for vengeance on the tournament people? How he even get here?
Funny you should ask. We actually invoked Haggis to claim vengeance on all of the victims of the monsters in the games, so he's actually primed to kill all of our participants here.
So who called him? Who the summoner?
It's me.
Manu, this very bad idea. So he's fighting the Bio Raptor, and this guy's from Pitch Black and flies and stuff, and he hates the light. And are we really talking about so much about him, you know? I mean, somehow I be getting this feeling like he has not so much the chance.
Follow that feeling because Pumpkinhead wins this one decisively with a 79% haul versus the Raptors' 21%. Not the biggest blowout that we've seen though. This next battle should be interesting since we've seen both monsters burrow under the ground at one point, but on this side of things is a thing. The Blair thing to be exact.
Why no one be worried that this is just old man? Anybody can beat old man.
It may look like an old man, but it is also an alien being that can absorb and take on the form of its prey, completely duplicating it down to its DNA.
The DNA of old men is no big deal. I can literally be going down the street and get that right now.
How?
Now his opponent, big deal indeed. We are looking at the Graboid, huge monster from dinosaur time, come up under the ground and swallow you up. How you plan to absorb something when you are in its belly? Thing monster is being very vulnerable to things that burn it. I mean, well, let's see how it'd be dealing with the burning of the stomach acids, eh? Not unlike Gregorio's after a paella.
Looks like you're underestimating monster boomers since the Blair monster comes out victorious once again, since it's never even come down to acid, as its size and form changing abilities give it the upper hand with staying out of the grabby maw and using its weird tendril things to wrap around his rival here. And now let's see who ingests who, as Blair gets 70% of the vote versus the Graboid's 30.
What is boomer talk? Did you not hear a Graboid be being older than dinosaur? Older than dinosaur!
This next round is a pretty big one, and it's so big that there have been several movies about it.
You call those movies?
Close enough. It's Queen Alien versus Predator.
Ah, this easy fight. Predator shoot her with laser and battle be over. All done, Predator win.
It's not that easy, since we've taken away the Predator's laser cannon. He only has access to close range weapons.
You did? What? What? Laser cannon is essential part of Predator monster. It's like taking away alien bitey mouth.
It's not actually. The mouth is a part of the alien, not an accessory, and is a close range weapon.
That not be being fair to Predator. With cannon, he win easily.
Look, with the Predator's laser cannon, any monster in this tournament with thumbs would beat the Xenomorph. How is that a fair fight?
Well, if you don't want Predator to have things that Predator have, then why you even invite him to your little tournament?
We didn't invite him. We didn't invite any of these monsters. We kidnapped them and brought them here against their will.
That is backstory now?
Looks like. Anyway, with only access to his edged weapons, the Predator still puts up an amazing fight, since one of these guys with no laser cannons is still one of the fiercest fighters in the known universe. But ultimately, it's just not enough, as Her Majesty Morph edges him out with a 56% to 44% win.
Gregorio would just like it to be on record that he does not agree with the whole thing, and I would like to be making some sort of formal complaint to whoever made these stupid rulings.
That would be me.
Then I complain to you.
Duly noted. Our final fight today features a couple of monsters that I will confess I did not think would make it this far.
It is because that they are being good and healthy and strong and eat all their latkes.
I'm not even sure that our first fighter eats, since it's the Splinter creature from the film Splinter, which is sort of like the Thing again, in that it's an invasive species that completely takes over its prey. It spikes you and turns you into a zombie-like thing.
They're not so different than this alien queen from Faculty. Not Queen Alien we just talked about, it's different Queen Alien. This one be winning fights because no one is taking enemies' main weapon away from them.
I thought we moved on from this.
No, Gregorio never moves on. Ask his middle school girlfriend. Contessa, I still love you.
Well, since we're talking about what makes a fair fight, we should note that both of these creatures create minions, or smaller forms, that they control. Mostly like both hive minds, I suppose, but they are cut off from them and are only able to fight as their own true form.
One has true form of stick, other has true form of pretty lady. You know what to do.
Appears as if they don't, because this one was incredibly close, but in the end, the Splinter creature is able to get under his opponent's skin, both literally and figuratively, to eke out a win with 51% to the Queen's 49%. And that's it for the semifinals. Let's see how the bracket is looking right now. We are so close to seeing who's going to take this whole thing home, but hopefully not my home, because I don't want any of these things anywhere near my home. And yes, now is the time for you to be doing all of those things that you are to be doing, liking this video, leave a comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, and let your friends know about the Monster Brawl. But keep Gregorio's name out of your stinking mouth, eh? And here it is, the one that you've been waiting for, the semifinals and finals of the first ever Monster Brawl. This is the big one, as we're down to the final 4 monsters, down from 32, which were randomly placed against each other, and you guys voted for the winners, so this is all on you. I'm your host, Josh Spiegel, and I'm joined by the ever enigmatic El Lucha Bucci.
Oh, it's so good to be here again, and I'm very excited to be here for the grand finale.
Lucha, I have a question for you.
What's that?
You're a luchador, a Mexican wrestler, but you don't sound or look Mexican.
That's because I'm not Mexican. I'm from Vermont.
Then why use the L for El Lucha Bucci?
What do you mean?
El is a Spanish article. It means the. Your name translates to the Lucha Bucci.
I don't know what you're talking about. The L is an initial. It's an abbreviation of my first name.
Oh. Then what's it short for?
Lucas.
Your name is Lucas Luchabucci.
Junior.
All right, for the semifinals here, I don't think we get more epic than this. We have 2 diametrically opposed enemies.
I myself am also opposed to metric.
Yes, you are. And we're looking at the battle between the supernatural and the extraterrestrial, as Pumpkinhead takes on the Blair thing.
This is a weird fight because you have one opponent that seems to inflict tons of damage, but really can't be hurt. And the other one doesn't really seem to be interested in fighting as much as just absorbing you.
Indeed, it's almost like they say about the immovable force versus the unstoppable object.
Does absorbing count as damage?
How so?
Well, since Pump is invulnerable to damage, right? So when the thing takes you over, it eats your cells and it copies them. But does the eating of those cells count as damage? Wouldn't that be impossible to do that then?
That is an interesting question, and I'll admit that it is a deeper analysis than I expected from you here.
Well, yeah, my mom helped me with that one.
Oh, you finally talked to your mom. That happened.
I did not. But I did pay a nice lady to let me call her mom, so everyone is happy.
But are they?
Close enough.
Speaking of close, this battle wasn't as close as I would have thought, with the majority of people apparently agreeing that absorbing cells, I guess, does not count as damage. And the Spirit of Vengeance just becomes a greater part of the DNA structure of the Blair thing, with a 64% take versus Pump's 36. On the other side of the semis, we have a sort of a similar situation, as we have a large creature versus an enemy that is sort of more of an invasive species.
You would think that people would be voting for anything virusy to lose right now, but I guess not.
Guess not, since we're looking at the Xenomorph Queen versus the Splinter creature.
That guy?
Yes.
It's just a person with a weird spiky infection, and it's fighting that big alien queen?
Yes.
One of the meanest monsters I've ever seen in a movie, and with a weird penis head and stuff, and she's fighting an acupuncture patient?
Yes.
Gee, I wonder how this is gonna go.
Wonder no more, because this was a blowout, which is strange considering everyone thought that the whole infectious and the bodily takeover aspect was enough to give the thing a huge advantage, but this creature with a somewhat similar MO gets trounced, as the Queen took 86% versus Splinter's 14%, and I'm gonna assume that it's because the Splinter has to penetrate the opponent's hide and was not able to do so. All right, here we go. It's the main event for the whole kit and caboodle. This is the final round.
That's the prize? Some sort of caboodle kit?
No, the kit and the caboodle are both simply figurative, but they do get the whole enchilada.
Again, kind of a stupid prize.
And also, again, not a real enchilada, but they don't really win anything. They're here against their will for our entertainment.
That don't seem too nice.
They're monsters, Lucha. Monsters.
Well, maybe because people keep making them fight each other. Maybe if they weren't brought up by some lady who constantly forced them to fight things all the time, beating them mercilessly every time that they lost, and occasionally making them wear dresses and eating doggy poop for the purpose of humiliating them, then they wouldn't be such monsters and constantly want to hurt and maim people and then take massive amounts of narcotics to numb their pain.
Maybe. Thing versus Alien Queen. These guys are the best of the best, the cream of the crop here. And I have to say, I think this all comes down to one question, and that question is, since the Thing is vulnerable to burning, would it be able to assimilate the Xenomorph's acid blood? Lucha, any thoughts?
My whole life is a lie.
So yeah, an interesting wrinkle is that in order for the acid blood to hurt the Thing, you would have to assume that the Queen has been injured or damaged. So her only real offense to Blair creature is as if she herself is a victim. And that seems to be what happens here, since the Thing is more intelligent and able to figure out that the blood would hurt it and able to take a more frontal assault tactic. Although the battle is extremely close, with our shapeshifting friend squeaking by this final fight with a slight 52% margin versus 48%, meaning that he may have won, but takes quite a bit of damage himself. So there you have it. Let's check out our final bracket, complete now. Well, that wraps up our first ever Monster Brawl. We hope you've enjoyed this tournament, and if you want to see more, let us know by sharing this out to the world. Oh, hey, you okay?
Yeah, I just went back down to congratulate the Blair thing on winning the fight.
You were down there with it?
Yeah.
Were you alone?
For a little bit, yeah.
Okay, well, we're closing out the tournament.
Oh, then like and subscribe and all that. I mean, they've heard all of this before by now, right?
They have. Good night, everyone.